Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bellow Talk. Today, Bev, the host, and Bobby, the co-host, are here today to give you some entertaining news about our upcoming camp that we have for Rose City Accordion Club.
Almost here.
Oh my gosh.
I know. What is it, like 5 weeks, I think? The music is out.
Wow, that's
The trio
wonderful
music
news.
is being practiced.
Yes.
We've got enough rooms for everyone.
Hallelujah.
No one will be out on the deck. They'll all be in beds or in their campers.
Wow, that's
Plenty
wonderful.
of food. We are ready to go.
We're ready to rock and roll, but now all we need is some instructors.
I think we have a couple here today.
We do.
Yeah.
We have these two wonderful instructors because that's all we need to have at camp in order to make it happen. Or there could be more. So, my first question, Courtney, since you're here in the studio, I'm going to ask you first.
Oh, the anticipation.
When did you start playing the accordion?
Well, I was kind of a late comer to the accordion because I had played guitar starting at 12 and then saxophone. And then in my musical life, I think when I was around 27, someone
a couple
gave
of
me
years
an
ago.
accordion. Yeah, just a couple of years ago. But nice of you to mention that, Bobby.
Yes,
But
yes.
someone gave me an accordion, and a person that I worked with and played music for, they were doing dances, and they said they thought I would sound good with an accordion, and I took a natural affinity to it, partly because it's an independent instrument, and I had played in a lot of bands, and bands, as well as doing good music, have complex social dynamics. And so it's nice to play an instrument where you don't have to play with other people all the time. So the accordion, in addition to sounding great, was a source of independence.
I like that. I like that idea very much. So that's really very good. That's a real insightful to the instrument itself.
But it's like an orchestra. You get to do everything. You get to do the accompaniment, the soloing.
You don't even need friends.
Well, I do like friends.
Oh.
I like friends. I wasn't trying to sound asocial.
Oh, okay. I was just kind of curious about that. So, well, on that note, Toby, when did you start playing the accordion?
I started playing the accordion seriously when I was about 12 years old. I'd taken 3 years of piano lessons before that. And my grandfather, who was a very proud Swede, always wanted me to be a great accordionist. So when I was young, probably about 5 or 6 years old, he somehow found an accordion somewhere, bought it, showed it to me, and put it away in the closet and said, sometime later in the future, you're going to learn to play this. And so I started out taking piano lessons, did that for a couple years, and then the summer before I went into 8th grade, that's when I finally pulled the accordion down out of the closet and started kind of playing around with it and getting interested in it. I had a bit of an advantage because my uncle plays the accordion, and so he was able to give me a few pointers to get started with. But I didn't really get serious about learning properly until I got to college and I started taking lessons with Gary Dahl. So at this point, it's been probably about 30 years of playing accordion, a little more than that maybe.
Wonderful.
Thank you. I know that when one starts to play an instrument, whether it's the accordion or not, you really don't have, an idea of who's going to influence you at the time because you're trying to influence and, your teacher's the one you're trying to impress. But as you go along and you become familiar with your music, Toby, I'm going to ask you first, what type of music or musicians influenced you, and also when did you start writing music? Toby? We will go to Courtney and ask the same question, and we'll come back to Toby.
Okay, sounds good. Well, early influences, I was very interested in, I was studying composition in college, and I was interested in compositions that were innovative. And I was curious about the accordion. I didn't know that much about the breadth of music that the accordion played, but I thought, oh, maybe I could compose some music for accordion, and because there's not so much modern music for it, I could put myself on the map, so to speak. So I was inspired particularly by Guy Klusevsk, who is a great composer on the accordion and also commissioned a bunch of modern works from a bunch of people.
Is he from the U.S. or?
He's from the U.S., yes. And yeah, he's got a lot of great music out there. And then another musician who doesn't play accordion but just does a lot of innovative music called Fred Frith, named Fred Frith. And it was discovering his music is just sort of expanding the boundaries, blending lots of different styles, and just sort of doing what inspires you. And it might not fit in a specific genre, but it's kind of, it's a good adventure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yes, and you've
Yeah.
taken off, I know, and you've written quite a few pieces.
I have endeavored to, yes.
As has our other guest who's on Zoom, and maybe, can you hear me, Toby?
Hi, Toby.
Hi, Toby.
This is
Yes.
Beth. Hi. We were just wondering, what were some of your main musical influences, and when did you start writing music?
I started writing music in the 6th grade, which was around the time that I'd already had a couple of years worth of piano lessons. And I used to listen to a lot of music with my grandmother when I was young. Of course, I am of the right age to have watched the Lawrence Welk Show with my grandparents. And so you know that Myron Florin was a huge influence. I used to look forward to his performances on the show. And a little later, when the Lawrence Welk Show went into reruns on public television, I was still watching the show with my grandparents, and Myron would play a solo, and then I would be so impressed I would go grab my little accordion and pick it up and try and figure out what Myron had just played. So he was a big influence on me. Another one that I heard early on in life and have loved ever since was Frankie Yankovic, America's Polka King. There was something incredibly infectious and engaging about the way he played his polkas. And so that was another really big influence on me.
Wonderful.
Just love that.
Love that.
It leads me to
another question. I've always been very curious about, those that write music. Is that, where are you when you start composing a song? I mean, like one day are you like
staring at the toaster
and you're thinking, whoa, or are you like, driving home from the bar late at night and you start singing a song and then you becomes a love song or to somebody? I mean, how do you do that, Toby?
Inspiration can come from a lot of different places. Myself, I actually have a music degree, and my area of study was classical composition. So for me, I know how to write music by starting with a very small idea and developing it and expanding it out from there. But sometimes the ideas just pop into my brain fully formed. I kind of think of it like sometimes you're looking for a solution to a problem and all of a sudden it just pops into your head and you realize, oh, that's the solution. Well, sometimes that happens with music too. There have been some cases where an idea has just come to me fully formed, words, music, and all, and then the challenge is just to remember it until I can get somewhere that I can either write it down or nowadays record it with my phone.
Mm-hmm. And so when you did that, it's my understanding that from a previous conversation, did you not write some music that was for your wife?
I did, as a matter of fact. I wrote a very nice song for my wife called My Darling Dana. And the way that came about was I was driving back home from a performance at the Leavenworth Oktoberfest, which is about a 3-hour drive for me. And it was late at night, it was past midnight, and I was getting close to home. And I was really looking forward to getting home and seeing my wife. And the song just kind of popped into my head, words, music, and all. And so as soon as I got home, I had to grab my phone and record it and remember it so that I could then write it down later after I'd gotten a little bit of sleep.
That's great. That's a great story, Toby. Thank you very much for sharing that. And, Courtney, I was just kind of curious where you would have, been standing when you were thinking of a great song.
Down is the truth.
Oh, I see.
I'm a fan of sitting down when playing the accordion, actually. I like to get up and, if I can, first thing in the morning, start fooling around with music. And many times that means playing the accordion. And then I'm not necessarily practicing at that point. I'm just kind of exploring ideas. And when a good one happens, like Toby was saying, I record it. And I record it these days on my computer, and then I get a stack of ideas. And like Toby said, the idea of sort of developing an idea so that you get more of a longer composition out of whatever these ideas are. The other quick answer to that is, it's affected by mood. So sometimes if I watch a certain movie or read a book or something, and you're left and you're kind of in a contemplative mood or a variety of moods, and you pick up your instrument and fool around, you kind of get something that expresses that moment.
Right, that's very true. Yeah.
I was wondering, Courtney, while you're writing your music, how do you feel about improv as opposed to writing something, that's a melody so that, you get the point of the music across instead of the embellishments? How do you do that?
Well, I like both composing and committing it to a solid idea, and I do like improvising too. And the composing part is actually through improvising until you kind of decide, like, says what I want to say, or I'm content with it. And then I do like in the performance of it, and also not just on my own, but playing with other people, to allow the music to have some in-the-moment interaction and variety. So I like that when that's included. I think it involves the performer in the present moment more. And not all music is like that, and there's plenty of beautiful music that you want to play whatever is written and do your best. But I like when, coming to the stage and you don't know quite what's going to happen.
Right.
Well, I know for one that there was a piece of music that is a very simple song, the Tennessee Waltz. And I asked you one time if you could kind of help me with a jazzy version. And the improv on that was so impressive that actually other people wanted the song too. They thought it was really great. So Toby, Toby, can you hear me? Oh, you'll have to ask him the question, I guess.
We weren't going to. So, Toby, my next question to you is, I would like to know, do you teach now?
I do.
Lessons? And what is the average age of your students? Do you have young students, or are they all, so old that they have to, come weekly to take a class? Weekly.
Yes, very weekly.
Yes, weekly.
Most of my students tend to be older adults, about 50 years of age and older. A lot of them are retirees who are getting back into the accordion, or who've played piano in the past and decided they wanted to learn the accordion. I do have a couple of young adult students right now. I don't have any adolescent students, which is too bad, because one of the fun things about teaching is when you're taking young students in their teens and really giving them their first experience of learning about music. That is a lot of fun to do as a teacher. But I don't have any of those students right now. Right now, I'm basically teaching older students.
Well, I certainly hope that today's podcast, that as we get this out and spread the word, that you'll get some young students up there, because we need more people to be out here playing the accordion and keeping the music alive.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. So, Courtney, do you have any young students, or is your average age the average age of our club?
students is about the average.
But are they above that?
They are all above average people and performers. But I do have a couple young students, and I enjoy them a lot, and they enjoy the accordion a lot. I have a young man who's 15, who's been a student for probably about 5 years, and he has a lot of natural talent, musical talent across the board, and he has perfect pitch, and he's very creative, and we have a lot of fun. As a teacher, I think having fun is the way to keep going.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of fun, and he explores a lot of music, and I also have an 11-year-old girl who lives in San Diego, and so she's becoming a student during the pandemic over Zoom. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, that just leads me to another question, Bobby.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
So the reason why we have these two young men with us today is because they are our...
Workshop presenters at camp.
And what will they be offering
Well, I don't know.
year?
Can you give us a little tidbit about what you're going to be offering, Courtney?
We want to be able to, get enthused about this camp.
I'm so glad I'm here and able to tell you about this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to present 2 workshops, and one is how to spice up your playing with some 2-5-1 riffs. 2-5-1 is a common chord progression that some of you probably know about, and that may be new to some others. But it's something that occurs in pretty much all music. And if we play something other than the written music in that place, it gives us a chance to embellish. And my goal is not only to give you some set ideas, but to show you how you might spice it up with your own variations on the ideas.
Great.
Sounds like a great idea, doesn't it, Bobby?
Yep.
I think Bobby might have even suggested it to me.
Well, then does that mean that your instructions is free?
Well, I don't know. Let me look at my contract.
Okay, you might want to do that. We did have that pandemic year. Well, that's wonderful, Courtney. I think we're all looking forward to having you as an instructor this year.
I'm so happy to be back.
Yeah. And with that, we have Toby this year with us too. And I know Toby's going to bring a different style of music and instructions to the campers. Tell us about it, Toby.
Well, I'm going to be teaching 2 workshops at the camp this year. The first workshop is one that I've presented in a more abridged format a few places in the past, and that's elements of Cleveland-style polka. So if you've ever heard Frank Yankovic or Johnny Pecan, Johnny Vadnal, Eddie Habit, one of those great players, and thought, gosh, I wish I knew what they were doing to make their polkas sound so good. Well, this is the workshop you want to take, because I'm going to sit down and explain it and give you some musical examples of how to make your polkas sound like that. Then my other workshop, that's going to be about Western swing accordion. So if you've familiar with Bob Wills or Milton Brown, or maybe Asleep at the Wheel, one of the more contemporary Western swing bands, I'm going to demonstrate how you adapt that Western style of music to play on the accordion so that you can play either solo or in ensembles.
Oh, that sounds exciting. Should I be bringing my cowboy hat or my spurs or anything to attend your class?
That is not necessary. In fact, depending on how many people we have in each session of the workshop, the room may get pretty full if everybody wears their cowboy hats and spurs. So I would say leave those home, and when you go out on your first gig after you've taken the workshop, that's the time to wear those.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. Sounds like a... Well, I do have
a final question for both of you. And my question is that if you, Toby, were talking to a younger version of yourself, what advice would you give yourself?
If I were going to go back, say, 20 years in the past and share some knowledge with myself, it would be to be as broadly based as possible. The thing that I've found that is the most valuable in my musical career is to know as many different styles as possible from as many different backgrounds. Because even though I may not play that on every job, I I know that when a job comes up that calls for something like that, I will be able to play it, and that will both increase my knowledge and increase my outlook on music as a whole. And that is always a beneficial thing. The more that you know, the better a musician you can be.
Yeah, that's very good advice.
Thank you,
Thank you, Toby, very much.
And Courtney, what advice would you give yourself? I know you're only about 27.
That's right.
So how much younger? I mean, what, when you're about 7?
Yeah, talking to my 7-year-old self, I'd tell myself to eat the vegetables.
There you go.
No, I think that a few things. One would be to not be afraid of something that feels beyond your reach. Like, reach for the challenge, because we learn a lot when we reach for the challenge, and our musical skills and our ability to go for things is greatly enhanced. And then challenges aren't such a reach. So that's always a good thing. The other thing is actually purely physical. I would tell myself to take up exercise earlier, because the accordion's a very physical instrument, and sometimes it feels like you're trying to play the accordion, but it's wrestling against you. And so when I'm in good shape, I feel like I'm in command of the accordion. So I would say, take up that exercise. It's fun.
Maybe you'll start our camp day out with that.
Perhaps so.
Yeah. We have done that in the past. It wouldn't be a bad idea to do that again.
Well, as long as it doesn't start before breakfast.
No, not before breakfast.
Well, Bobby, do you have any other little questions that you'd like to ask them? I mean, they're here today, and they've got some excellent advice for all of us.
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot, because I don't have any.
Yeah, and quit looking at your notes. It's not the place. So
I'm really looking forward to not only spending the workshop time, but there's other times during camp also where we not only get to possibly have a one-on-one instruction with these two gentlemen and our conductors, but there's also the time after camp where hopefully they're going to participate in our open mic. We also have breakfast, lunch, and dinner time where we try to mix people up and sit. I mean, there's more than just the music involved in camp. There is a lot of social time and getting to know the people that are there.
Oh, that sounds so exciting.
Yeah.
So don't forget, we have camp coming up August the
29th through September 3rd. With the concert in the evening, live stream. September 2nd, Thursday night. And we want to make sure that the people that are watching this podcast, this is where the action will be that night also. Mm-hmm. So let's have as many people as possible.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, to watch the podcast and then watch the concert.
And your neighbors too.
Around the world.
Around the world. Tell everyone. Whether you like them or not. Just tell everybody.
I think the line that I've heard is, anyone you've ever met, tell them.
Please tell them, yes. Yes, go back through your little black book, tell them. So we're really looking forward to this. And not only do we have 2 instructors, but we have upcoming in another podcast, we're going to be interviewing our conductors, 2 of our conductors. And also, we have another podcast, our final podcast, that we will be interviewing camp attendees. So these podcasts that are coming up if they don't entice you to want to sign up in 2022 for the next one, I don't know what it's going to take, because we have a great group of instructors and conductors and friends. You make friends, you have new friends, old friends. It's just fun times.
It is.
Thank you very much, Courtney.
Thank you, Courtney.
Yeah,
thank you, Toby.
Thank you, Toby. Appreciate that very much.
Oh, hello. I'm Courtney, and I'm going to play an excerpt of a piece I've composed called Astor in Paris, dedicated to Astor Piazzolla, but also imagining that he grew up in Paris, so his music had a little French flavor. Okay, now I'm going to play a version of Creole Blues, which is a traditional tune that I picked up from some information from Some Pipe Orange. And it's here we go.
Hello everyone, I'm Toby Hanson, and here's a song that I wrote for my wife. It's called My Darling Dana. always thinking of ya, my darling Dana. I'll tell the world I love ya, my darling.